here we are at the Center Street Church Center Campus Auditorium, which is a very nice, big, beautiful room, as you can see. I think you might even be able to fit about 3,400 people into this place. And I am very lucky to be playing a show here. We're going to be playing a fundraising concert tonight for Mexican refugees. And I've got a beautiful, basically brand new, unused set of Adams hand-hammered bowl timpani to work on. They've barely been used. The factory heads are still on them, which are actually Remo Renaissance heads, which are quite nice. So I've been doing a little bit of maintenance work on them to get them to wake back up after 2.5 years of not being used during the pandemic. And we're going to do a video on mainly dampening, but we'll also be talking a little bit about playing zones. So I'm going to tune my drums. From one another, and I'll get you to stand up and so that you can sort of look down at what I'm doing. So the first thing we need to talk about is playing zones, and what you'll notice is that basically you can experiment with playing. It doesn't really matter where around the drum you play. What matters is how far in from the outside you play. So if you start right here, you don't want that sound, obviously. The further in you move, that's a nice sound. Contact sound I get, and then when I'm right in the center, that's the ugliest sound. Sometimes a composer will ask you for that for special effects, but otherwise you want to be playing about 1/3 of the way from the edge into the center most of the time, just allowing the mallet to bounce off. Now that also applies to dampening. Playing zones and dampening zones are exactly the same. So when I play here, I want to dampen here. Now you can play here dampen over there. It doesn't matter where around the drum you dampen, just like it doesn't matter where around the drum you play. What matters is how far in from the edge. So you can see that if I play here and then dampen in the center, I'm not actually cutting off the sound. I need to play here and dampen in about the same spot. So what you will normally experience, particularly in more novice repertoire, is you'll experience a need to play one drum and then dampen with one hand as you play the next drum, and you can work on that without even holding a mallet. So first I play here, then I dampen one drum while playing the next, dampen one drum while playing the next, dampen one drum while playing the next. It's important to take a couple of things into consideration. One is that you're generally going to be dampening from low, when going from low to high. Not as much going from high to low. Might still be important, but what you'll find is that bigger drums ring for longer than smaller drums do. So if I play this drum, it rings for a little bit, but not anywhere near for as long as when I play this drum. That's ringing for a long time. So as I go up, it tends to be more important to cut off the sound of the previous drum when it's a low drum, so that I can hear the other drums clearly. Whereas if I go up, then you're probably still going to hear too much of this one, too much of this one, nowhere near enough of this one. So that brings into question the problem of coordination. And the issue with coordination is that what you need to do as you're playing while dampening is that you need to actually lay off of one drum, bounce off of one drum while pushing down on the other. And what a lot of students have an issue with is that they find it difficult to press down with one appendage while bouncing off with the other appendage. So there are two ways in which this problem can manifest itself. One of them is both things come off, both things come off, both things come off. That's obviously accomplishing nothing. The opposite type of manifestation of this problem is this, where both things stay down. So you need to actually practice the idea of pressing one down while the other comes off. It's also important to not overdo dampening. The idea of dampening is to get rid of sound, and if you create a whole bunch of extra sound by virtue of getting rid of your sound, then that's not effective, obviously. So you can tell, all I have to do is lightly press my hand. If I do this, then it's just ugly. It makes a bunch of extra noise, and you don't want that. So, be we've covered. Let's see. Now we need to move on to sequentially dampening across the drums, which you kind of almost covered. So one good exercise for this, and what you're going to want to probably do is basically keep your thumb and index finger hooked around the mallet, and then remove your other 3 fingers so that the index finger is holding the mallet shaft against the palm of your hand, and all you have to do is just extend and press your fingers, and we just go across and up and up and up and then down and then down and then down, up, up, down, up, down, down. If you find this a little bit daunting, you can back up to a before step, which is where you basically just hold the mallet head over your playing zone, hold your hand over your dampening zone, and just go back and forth between playing, dampening, playing, dampening, playing, dampening. Once you've got that with your dominant hand, switch to the non-dominant hand, do the same thing. Extend, press, and then strike, extend, press, and then strike, extend, press. Once you've got that, you can work towards going from one drum to another and then cut off. And then one drum to another, and then cut off, and then one drum to another, and then cut off again, then do the other way, from the right to the left, off, from the right to the left, off, from the right to the left, off. And then you can start to, just check my tuning, you can start to go back and forth without stopping. You can tell the motion of extending and dampening is pretty minimal. Just extending and dampening, that's all I'm doing. That problem that I talked about before, either this or this, can happen, so just make sure you're going slowly enough that you can get this concept. Don't overdo the dampening, just a little bit. And then finally, once you're comfortable with that, you can start to do exercises across 3 drums. Exercises across 4 drums. Etc. And then you've got your dampening under control, and you're doing as little mechanical exertion, no more mechanical exertion than necessary in order to be able to do your dampening. Thank you very much for watching. Have an awesome day.